Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, family, whatever side of the diaspora that you are on. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Mental House. I am your host, Khadijah. And it is very, very frightening um, that when you deal with narcissism and when you start in your family, because I do believe that atlas that charity begins at home and then it spreads abroad. So in my opinion, my humble opinion, when you start doing the work about narcissism, there's no way in the world you can go through your own recovery and begin to start trying to heal uh, while taking care of the issues and the ills in your immediate um, narcissism abuse and the recovery of that. Then you have to look at society as a whole. And when you are a person of color, it takes it to a whole different level, as I've explained before. So the narcissism and the flying monkeys and the projection and the splitting, oh my goodness, and the smear campaigns, all of this is so relevant when it comes to black people. And the fact that no one wants to admit that, I feel betrayed. And what happens is they want to give the perception that, oh, let's just don't think about that. And let's go on. And while everything is fine and dandy when you're on, there comes a time when you have to get up, and walk out the door and go to the store, maybe go to the library or go wherever you're going. And if your concern isn't if the police pulls me over, I might die tonight, then our realities are not the same. It's just not. Um, so a lot of people, especially Caucasian people, have been robbed of their history. And so what happens is it makes black people seem like just a bunch of people that complain and complain and complain. And a lot of sincere, good white people are like, you guys got everything that you want. You complain, and you got civil rights, and you got equal rights, and you got welfare, and I'm tired of you guys. You own the welfare roll, and that's all you are. You're just a bunch of lazy people. And um, that narrative and propaganda is hyped up by the media, right? Okay, because it's all a setup. It's all a matrix. So whenever the economy gets bad, and y'all know this from a personal experience, you know how you have a bad day at work and you come home and take it out on everybody in your family, huh? A lot of y'all know that because you're still doing it right now. Well, this is one of these situations. So when white people get threatened and their jobs are being moved, um, as black people, we've had to learn to live under those conditions and make the best of it. But because we really have nobody to turn on except ourselves. But what happens is when white people experience the same trauma, they turn the stuff inward on us. When they start losing their jobs, when their finances are attacked, the first thing they do is start attacking black people and thinking they're responsible for the just like the bad parent that comes home and spreads his misery to the rest of the family. That's what it is. And so we're part of this, but they spread it to this particular part of the human family, which is people of color. And because they're narcissistic, they have no recollection, nor do they really are, nor are they willing to even look at who gives them the right and looks at the abuse that they've done to say, hey, look, I've done this over and over and over again to somebody. I can't. They don't have the ability to do that because they're sick. Okay. So anybody that wants you to remain silent in these conditions like this for African people, when they're getting killed, we getting killed on the streets, then that's a form of betrayal. So I don't care if they're white and they don't think this is part of narcissism. This is straight up narcissism. I'm just bold enough to be the one to tell y'all that's what it is. Most of y'all want to skip over it and just want to leave it right there. Well, if you just think like this and don't worry about, it's an impossibility for most people of color, because it may be okay for you, but it may not be okay for my son or my nephew or my brother or my, it's a continuous fight, which is why it's impossible almost, to explain that on that kind of level, because these people that buy into this subscription, they have no empathy. So what I wanted to do is real quickly explain to you, and I'm sure a lot of y'all have heard, and because I want you to understand that we're in that time right now where white people are frustrated and they're losing their jobs, they're losing their homes, the middle class is being just eradicated. And so who they gonna take it out on? They're gonna take it out on you, us, me. Here's a chronological, excuse me, term of events that happened in the Rosewood massacre. Okay. On 8/5, 4 black men in McKinney were removed from the local jail, and lynched for allegedly rape of a white woman. Okay, they let them come in and remove these people from the jail. 11/2. This is the chronological events that led to the whole Rosewood burning. 2 whites and at least 5 blacks are killed in Okoe in a dispute over voting rights. The black community of Okoe is destroyed. Damn. 25 homes, 2 churches, and a Masonic lodge. On 12/21, a black man in Wauchula is lynched for an alleged attack on a white woman. 12/9/22, a black man in Perry is burned at the stake, accused of murder of a white school teacher. A black church, school, Masonic lodge, and a meeting hall are also burned. Because it is very important that you don't put the looting and the burning face of Americans on black people. It's very important to know that you have a history of burning and looting and robbing black people as well. Especially if they're doing better than you and you don't feel that they need to be doing well at all. This is a history. Even so, I'm not making this stuff up. You can look it up, and I will give you that information when I'm done. On 12/31, which is New Year's Eve, a large Ku Klux Klan parade is held in Gainesville. This is the first. Early morning, Fannie Taylor reports an attack by an unidentified black man. Monday afternoon, Aaron Carrier is apprehended by a posse and is spirited out of the area by Sheriff Walker. Late afternoon, so this is all on the first, a posse of white vigilantes apprehend and kill a black man named Sam Carter. On the second, armed whites begin gathering in Sumner, Florida. On January 4th, late evening, white vigilantes attack the Carrier house. 2 white men are killed and several others are wounded. A black woman, Sarah Carrier, is killed, and others inside the Carrier house are either killed or wounded. Rosewood's black residents flee into the swamps. 1 black church is burned and several unprotected homes burned as well. Lexi Gordon is murdered. Oh boy. Okay, then we move on to the 5th. Approximately 200 to 300 whites from surrounding areas begin to converge on Rosewood. Mingo Williams is murdered. Governor Kerry Hardy is notified, and Sheriff Walker reports that fears no further disorder. That he fears no further disorder. The sheriff of Alachua County arrives in Rosewood to assist Sheriff Walker. James Carrier is murdered. On the 6th of January, a train evacuates refugees to Gainesville. On the 7th of January, a mob of 100 to 150 whites returned to Rosewood and burned the remaining structures down. On January 17th, a black man in Newberry is convicted of stealing cattle. He is removed from his cell and lynched by local whites. On February 11th, a grand jury convenes in Bronson to investigate the Rosewood riots. On February 15th, the grand jury finds insufficient evidence to prosecute. Okay. I just want to know, and this is, I specifically gave the days. Unfortunately, I didn't give the years. So this started from the 20, because it's just really irrelevant for me to even put a year on it. It's really irrelevant because this is the same cycle. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Oh my goodness. It's important that you know that racial unrest and violence in African Americans permeated domestic developments in the United States during the post-World War era. World War I era. From individual lynchings to massive violence against entire black communities, whites in both the North and the South lashed out against black Americans with rage that knew no few bounds. From Chicago to Tulsa, cities, it seems funny, so we're dealing with today, isn't it? We always had those problems in these cities, huh? Anyway, from Chicago to Tulsa to Omaha, East St. Louis, that's burnt off the map pretty much, and many communities in between, and finally to Rosewood, white mobs pursued what can only be described as a reign of terror against African Americans during the period from 1917 to 1923, up until today. But this kind of terror is just the ultimate. In Chicago, Illinois, for example, law and order was suspended for 13 days in July 1919 as white mobs made foray after foray into black neighborhoods, killing and wounding 365 black residents and leaving another 1,000 homeless from burning down their property. In June 1921, the black section of Tulsa, Oklahoma was almost burnt out, and thousands were left homeless following racial violence by the white residents. What happened to the public's commitment to make the world safe for democracy? That had become the national byword slogan at that particular time after World War I. And why had white citizens turned against black Americans with such fury? Kind of get the climate now, like the Donald Trump climate. After many had participated directly in the war and efforts right alongside and supported them. And finally, how did Rosewood and Florida fit into these racial developments? Well, I'll come back and tell you how in the next installment. Okay? Alright. If you like what you hear, please subscribe. And I'm going to bring you some more history about The Holocaust, a black Holocaust in America. Because a lot of you took offense when I said that. But I want you to know what we're dealing with in America is a Holocaust. And so it don't just stop in my family. The more I'm trying to cleanse myself and I'm identifying the mental illness, it's all over. And in my mind, silence is consent. And if you are my brother or my sister, spiritually, then you don't have any problem with looking at your truth. Because the African proverb says, truth pressed to the ground will rise. I'll see you next time in the mental house. Bye-bye.